you've heard from the Tea Party candidates. Now we're talking to their economist, Wayne Brough. He's the chief economist of FreedomWorks. He helped put together the Tea Party's economic agenda. Plus, also with me is a non-Tea Party economist, an objective person, one of the most accurate forecasters of economic data, according to Bloomberg, Richard DeKaser. Good morning to both of you. I appreciate you coming on my program to talk about this. And since we are so up in arms over what Ben Bernanke has just commented about stepping into the markets, perhaps to ease rates even further, to add more liquidity. Wayne, let me start with you, because the Tea Party itself, I mean, a recent poll coming out saying that 60% of Tea Party voters, supporters, would actually want to abolish the Fed or overhaul it at the very least. What's your reaction today from hearing what Bernanke has said?
Well, I think we are sort of treading into some pretty dangerous waters. We've already had a huge increase in the monetary base, and we're talking about doing even further expansions. And one of the most important things for a market economy is a stable price. And at this point, we're starting to fuel some of the longer-term threats of inflation. So I think we're treading into some very dangerous waters, and I'm a little bit concerned about the direction we're going in.
And that is causing you for you to lose faith in the Fed, is what you're saying, right? I mean,
yeah, I think the Fed is sort of throwing things at the wall at this point to see what works, and the longer we're in this, the more damage we can do in the long run. This is one of these classic things where if you have these price signals that are being distorted by Fed policy, you're going to have investors making bad investments, and over time these bad investments accumulate, and you feed into the next boom and bust cycle. So I think rather than trying to get us out of the problems that we're in, we may be setting the stage for a future.
For further problems.
No, exactly.
Okay,
exactly.
Richard?
I think Wayne has some reasonable concerns about the long run, but I would agree with John Maynard Keynes, who said in the long run we're all dead, and in this particular case. The near term is especially concerning. This morning we just got the Consumer Price Index for the month of September. Year over year, core inflation up just 0.8%. That's awfully close to zero.
Right.
There's no evidence that it's slowing, so I think the Fed needs to pull out all the stops to make sure deflation doesn't take hold, and that supports their efforts to increase money supply.
Right. So, well, yes, and as you heard Bernanke was saying, that condition of inflation is going to stay that way, he believes, for quite some time. Let me move on, though, because Wayne, over and over again we hear from Tea Party supporters, and we've heard from business leaders as well, that uncertainty is the big impediment right now to business. So for the Tea Party itself, I'm not really sure if the policies that you've put forth really do create more certainty. How do you plan on creating more certainty for the business?
Well, I think we're advocating basic common sense economics, and certainty is something that a good market economy can provide. We need,
but how?
Certainty in terms of fundamental tax reform, so we have a tax code that doesn't treat different businesses differently. A certainty in terms of regulatory reforms that get rid of unnecessary and excessive regulations that keep businesses from getting back into the market. And clearly certainty in terms of monetary policy, where we know that the price signal is a valid signal. So I think what we're advocating is a limited government approach rather than excessive, continued stimulus spending and more expansionary budgetary policies.
Right, and Richard, I've got to wrap. But Richard, I mean, are we not getting that, though? I mean, I think we are in some ways.
No, I think it's a legitimate criticism. There is a great deal of uncertainty. I don't know how that's avoidable, however. We've come through the Great Recession. We know that there's been many aspects of our economy that have been broken, the financial system in particular. And in a political environment where there's multi-party democracy, that's not going to be resolved in a way that's all very clear. So I think, unfortunately, we've been struggling with uncertainty. The election should help clarify some of that. Once we get the new body installed, we go through the lame duck session, I think we'll start to see a lot of these policies congeal, and uncertainty next year should be diminishing rather than intensifying.
Okay, so that may eventually resolve itself anyway. Okay, gentlemen, I'm sorry, but we've got to let you go now. Wayne Brough, who is the economist of FreedomWorks, and also Richard DeKaser of Woodley Park Research, a Bloomberg best economist, for joining me.